So much media, so little time. Who keeps track of it all? That would be me. This is Bob Andelman, and this is the Mr. Media Interview, broadcast live from Blog Orlando, the Unconference at Rollins College in Winter Park, Florida. An unconference, if you're new to the term, is a less formal, less organized gathering of people with similar interests. Here, it's all about blogs and podcasts. Joining me today are Tommy Duncan of Syfy.com, a Tampa-centric blog, and freelance writer and blogger Dana Willhoit of NewsFlash.com, as well as J.C. Hutchins of jchutchins.net. J.C. has written a trilogy of science fiction thrillers called Seventh Son that he's converted to podcasts, and he's actually giving a presentation today from podcast to published author. Let's go to J.C. first.
Hello.
Hey, J.C., you're there, aren't you?
Yes, I am, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you good. Hey, welcome to the show. Nice to meet you here in Orlando.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
My pleasure. Tell us a little bit about going from novel to podcast. That just seems, I don't know, almost against logic.
Yeah, it's kind of a, as they say, a bass-ackwards kind of way of getting published. But from 2002 to 2004, I wrote a very long novel called Seventh Son that I tried to find a literary agent for. This is how the game is played in the publishing game. You write a book, and then you find an agent who will try to sell it on your behalf to publishers. However, my book was so long, or maybe it was so uninteresting, we just don't know. No agent would touch it with a 10-foot pole. So at the end of 2005, after I'd finished querying, more than 50 agents, I had my head in my hands, and I wondered, well, if I can't sell this thing, let me just give it away as a free serialized audio podcast. And so for the next 2 years, from 2006 to 2007, and the series concluded in December of 2007, I recorded and released my homebrewed audiobook of the Seventh Son podcast novel trilogy. And thanks to the popularity of the podcast, it was picked up for publication by St. Martin's Press, and it opened up an avenue for another book that will soon be published next summer by St. Martin's Press. So it actually worked.
Was this a long-term ambition of yours to be a novelist or to be a podcaster?
Oh well, my ambitions to be a career storyteller were well entrenched before podcasting was around. I always loved writing fiction stories when I was a kid, and to pay the bills for some of my professional career, I was a journalist and went to university to become a print journalist. But this story called Seventh Son was making too much noise in my head, and that's when in 2001 I decided to leave the business and try to focus on this. I switched careers so I'd have more creative time to dedicate to writing this novel.
And so, JC, you're giving a presentation this afternoon on doing this professionally. What kind of advice would you offer people who are interested in doing this?
Well, one of the things that I do suggest is that, self-publishing your work via new media, such as either through blog post or through audio podcast, may not be the best move right out the gate. Try to exhaust your options within the publishing industry before you go to podcasting. That way, at least, you won't have to invest the time and effort that I have into doing this. However, the cool thing about releasing your fiction in new media is that you can quickly build an audience, and by doing so, you can allure publishers that way. So what I suggest is that authors who choose to do this not only release their content, but embrace the community and network within the podcasting community and within the blogger community to promote the work, to build a solid fan base of fans and engaged people who are interested in the work, so that so that they can be consistently engaged week after week as you release these chapters of your novels week after week.
And I mean, are the odds against most people being able to do this, or do you really think that the opportunity is that other people can make the transformation that you have?
Well, the odds of any author getting published ever, or at least a first-time novelist, are extremely rare regardless. It is a shrinking market, the print book market, and it's also an ultra-competitive one. In that respect, I think that releasing your fiction through a new media outlet like podcasting can be a differentiator, and that if you're able to present to an agent or a publisher that you have several thousand, or in the case of Seven Sun, around 50,000 listeners that have listened to the book, that can stand you apart from the crowd and can actually improve your chances of at least getting more than a glance when your letter comes across their desk.
Yeah. And, JC, you figured out how to go from podcast to published novel. Now, how much do you use online to market and promote your published book as well as your podcast?
Right. Well, the book will be released in fall of 2009, and another supernatural thriller that I will be releasing is going to be in summer of 2009, and those are going to be in print. So until that time, this has been a zero-budget operation for me, and I've been able to stretch non-existent pennies like nobody's business. But what I do is that it's all done online. You know, I have not paid for an advertisement, to my knowledge or to my memory, since I started this in 2006. This has all been word of mouth and vociferous booty shaking and promotion on my behalf, and trying to be as innovative and as interesting as I can be with my podcast promotion. And that's really, really helped pay off, along with being networked with other podcasters who can help spread the word about the work as well.
And, JC, last question. You're here at Blog Orlando. Have you found other useful information for yourself, for what you're doing?
Oh, absolutely. The keynote, the opening speech was about how the Lego Corporation embraced social media and their fans in order to not only spread the word about their product but improve their product. I found that very enlightening because as a podcast novelist, I do have an engaged base of fans, and it was a reminder to keep them in mind as I produce future work and try to cater to their sensibilities. Another panel that I just recently attended was the monetization panel. I have a new podcast fiction project that will probably be released in early 2009, and it has several opportunities for monetization or advertisements within the podcast. And because I'm a newcomer to that space, I was listening very keenly to that and learned a lot of great things.
Well, JC, it was very nice to literally just bump into you here. And why don't you give out your website again, and give you another plug there. And very interesting talking to you.
Oh, Bob, it was absolutely my pleasure, and I'm thrilled to be on the show. If your listeners want to learn more about me and my work, or the Seven Sun Trilogy, they can find it at jchutchins.net.
Great. Well, JC, good luck to you with the book coming out, and let me give you a lesson I've learned. I've published 9 books now in print. Don't expect the publisher to do all the work for marketing. You're going to have to do it yourself. That's the advice I can give you.
Well, thank you, Bob, and since I've already been doing that all myself, I guess it won't be any different. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thanks so much for calling in. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. So this is interesting. So my next guest is Dana Wilhoit, who has a site called Niche News / it's one word solid, Niche, Niche, News, News, /FLASH.com. And we had never met. I was introduced to Dana through her. I saw her on Twitter, and I think there was some shared interests. She's a freelance writer, as I am, and I signed up to her Twitter feed, and then I went to her website and invited her to come on the show. All this was done electronically, and Dana a few minutes ago and waved and said hello. And I looked at her and I realized that in a session on monetization just before lunch, she was sitting 4 empty chairs over to my right. So this is literally what happens with these type of things. Dana, are you online with us?
I think I am. Am I?
Yeah, I think you are. Delighted to have you here. So Dana, I was interested in having you on because I like the way your blog is done. It's very light and direct with the information. I think I actually have it in front of me right now. Your latest post would seem to be, am I following too many people on Twitter? you seem to apply just some common sense and just logic to this. Tell me what kind of things you deal with in your posts and on your blog, and what you're trying to accomplish with the blog.
Well, I pretty much originally created the blog so I'd have a place to put my writing samples and testimonials from my clients, because I'm a freelance writer, and I needed somewhere for prospective clients to be able to look at my work. And then I realized that to get more traffic, I was going to have to sort of personalize it a little bit, sort of show people what I know, show that I know what I'm talking about. And so I started posting, and I joined Twitter, got a bunch of followers, and I'm finding it's a pretty powerful combination to post on Twitter saying that I've just created a new blog post, and I always get dozens and dozens of visitors that way, and I've ended up getting a lot of clients that way. So,
what's the worst advice anyone has given you since you started up niche-newsflash.com?
Worst advice? Gosh, I don't think anyone has really given me bad advice. Honestly, I think I've been very lucky. Through Twitter and through a couple of internet marketing forums that I've been on, I've gotten generally pretty good advice. I can tell you some of the worst practices that I've seen on Twitter, and it's a very small percentage of people, but people who try to use Twitter to do affiliate sales, to spam, to send out affiliate links, that seems to really anger people on Twitter because it's a social media sort of website, and they're not using it in a social way. So the good advice that I've gotten is don't spam your followers. Build up a relationship first, let people see who you are, write about your area of expertise. Don't BS people and try to pretend that you know more than you do, because there's a lot of very smart people on Twitter, and they'll see through you right away. And pretty much be yourself, I think, is what has worked for me.
Tell us a little bit about your freelance writing. What kind of stuff do you write about? What are you looking to write about?
Well, basically, I was a reporter for a long time, a newspaper reporter, so I'm pretty good at researching and getting up to speed on anything quickly. But generally speaking, people who need web content and want it search engine optimized with the appropriate keywords in it turn to me, and I've written for websites that have everything literally from flirting advice to how to pick a dog breed to real estate, so a huge, huge range of subjects. So the samples that I put on my website, my writing samples reflect that. I wrote one about color psychology for website designers, one about weight loss, and one about, my mind is a blank, debt. Debt. Sorry, good debt versus bad debt. Okay.
So let me see. I'm trying to think of which of these topics would be useful to some of the people attending this conference. I'm thinking flirting advice, weight loss, and what was the last one? Bad breath?
No, debt. Good debt versus bad debt.
Oh, good debt versus bad debt. All right. Well, maybe you could write one about bad breath that could be useful here. Why are you attending Blog Orlando? What brings you here, and have you been before?
I have never been before. I live right near here, and since I'm blogging, I figured this would be a good place to make connections, see what other people are doing. I found some excellent advice in the session on monetization. I got some new ideas for advertising, for contextual advertising, things I hadn't thought of before. So basically just learn new things, meet new people.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think you raised your hand a lot early on in the monetization as someone who was maybe actually earning some money from their website. Do I have you confused with someone else?
No, that's correct. I actually have several websites. I have one blog that I really consider my blog, the niche-newsflash.com, where I talk about how I make money and mistakes for internet marketers to avoid and how to get traffic, that kind of thing. But I also have several blogs where I do affiliate sales and have some AdSense on the blog, so that was what I was talking about in terms of monetization.
Oh, okay. And are you finding? Let me come back to using your blog for basically for lead generation for what really is your livelihood. Are you finding it's working for that, or is it too soon to tell?
Oh no, I'm definitely finding that it's working for that. I have probably gotten, I think, 8 or 10 clients now from Twitter. A couple of them are long-term, ongoing. They're coming back to me every month, and some of them have been like one-time things, but the money has been pretty good, so it's working excellently for lead generation.
I'm actually on the air right now, but I'll be happy to tell you after. And that's kind of the nature of Blog Orlando. Everything's very casual. Someone was just asking me what kind of equipment I use, and all I can do is kind of point to it. It's funny. I've been doing Mr. Media for about a year and a half now, and I'd like to see. I expect to see it fully monetized at some point, maybe next year. Right now, my agent just loves it because he says it creates exposure that I would not have had before, and puts you in front of a lot of people. And using, as you do, Twitter, and I don't know if you use LinkedIn or Facebook as well, things like that.
Yes, I do. I'm on. I'm on about half a dozen different. I'm on Plurk. I'm on Pounce, FriendFeed, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And I use an application called Ping FM, so that every time I write like a short tweet or post, it posts on all those at the same time. So I get sort of, it's a big time saver for me. So I write one tweet and it posts to like 6 or 8 different places simultaneously.
And what is the answer to the question that you posed on your blog? Am I following too many people on Twitter? Is there a limit? I mean, that you can comfortably follow?
No, I think it's a personal thing. What my solution is to favorite certain people so that when I discover that somebody is especially interesting or relevant to me, I can pay special attention to them. But there are some people who just, get stressed out, I guess, by walking in on this huge conversation. That's what I really like about it. I like to meet new people. I like to get new ideas. So honestly, I hope to get up to the point where I'm following a few thousand. I always find it interesting.
Well, Dana, I very much appreciate you agreeing to stand out here you're in the shade here at Rollins College for Blog Orlando. It was very nice to meet you and to have you on as a guest. And I hope your site continues to bring you leads, and I hope it continues to make you money. And I hope you get a lot of use out of Blog Orlando. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Folks, check out Dana Wilhoit's site. It's niche. Is it niche or niche?
You can say it really either way. I say niche.newsflash.com.
Every time I say niche, I'm afraid somebody's going to come over and slap me and say, it's niche, you idiot. All right. Well, we've got it mentioned now a couple extra times. So thank you very much for being on the show. Appreciate your time.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you. Next up, I've got another guest who will be familiar to listeners on Blog Talk Radio. His name is Michael Hinman, and he does a science fiction show, and I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about it right here on Blog Talk Radio. Michael, are you there with us?
Yeah, I'm right here. Great.
So tell me the name of the show you do.
Well, on Blog Talk Radio, we do a radio show. It's called Syfy Radio. We spell it SYFY.
What kind of things do you cover?
Well, the show itself, it's more kind of a guest-driven show. We try to bring in we try to bring in actors, writers, producers, people in the media mostly, and all kinds of fun stuff. And, we had George Takei on a few weeks ago, and we're bringing on some Battlestar Galactica people in the next few weeks. And it's just one of those things that, we kind of do for fun. It's kind of a value add that we do for our website.
So you had George Takei on before he got married. I'm sure he's a completely changed man now. You ought to have him back.
Yeah, I know we should. Yeah, we actually had him on. It was probably a couple of weeks after they made the official announcement. But George has actually been a follower of our website for quite a long time, him and Brad. So when we had to bring him on, it was actually pretty easy.
Unfortunately, Michael and I got disconnected, so I'm going to bring Michael back in a couple minutes. Right now, I've got Tommy Duncan is on the line. Tommy does the Sticks of Fire site, which is we talk about locally centric sites. Sticks of Fire is about as local as they get. Tommy, are you there?
Yeah, I am. How are you?
Good. Glad to have you. Sorry for the delay. But Tommy, you did a presentation this morning on local sites, and I should point out that Sticks of Fire is sticksoffire.com, and you're very heavy on Tampa, Florida. How long have you been doing the site?
It's its 5th birthday will be this coming February, so it's 4 3/4 years and still going strong.
And, you know, do you think it'd be possible maybe to get a band that could come and play that gig?
At the 5th anniversary, sure. I might be able to talk my band into playing there. Who knows?
And your band, of course, is the Johnny G. Lyon Band?
Yeah, the Johnny G. Lyon Band, a long-time favorite band out of Tampa, Florida.
I've actually known Johnny even longer than I've known you now, Tommy, so I know all about JGLB. And while we're at it, is there a website for JGLB? Yeah,
you go visit jglb.net. And, of course, we have videos on YouTube and MySpace page where you can get some of our original music. All you have to do is search. Just search JGLB and you'll find it.
All right, Tommy, excuse me a second. I got to comb my hair. Listen, tell me about doing an intensely local site. What are the challenges of it and what are the rewards?
Well, I do it basically for the community. It's a love. Try to get folks involved and engaged in the things that are going on in and around their neighborhood and across the Tampa Bay area. The challenges, one of the challenges is I may have chosen too big of an area to cover, being just one guy. I've got several other writers that help to put content on there, but still the Tampa Bay area is a huge place, and so it's kind of tough to cover everything as well as, say, you know, the traditional media can. So that's one of the challenges I found. If anyone is considering going for a hyper-local or, you know, a geographical-based audience, go for a smaller neighborhood or a smaller city or town.
So here, 5 years out, you're looking at Tampa going, you know, it's just a little too big.
Yep. Yeah, I sort of wish that I'd found a smaller neighborhood to do it, maybe my neighborhood or, you know, even a niche within Tampa Bay. But I'm stuck with what I'm stuck with, and I'll tell you what, the plus side of that is I have the freedom then to write about anything I want that's going on in the entire area. So, you know, there's pros and cons to all of that.
Well, I know today you had a post up about Red Grange and the first football game in Tampa, and then I imagine I know you've written about the Rays. You have something. So now on the Rays, for example, is that you writing that, or is that other people? Do you have other contributors to the site?
I have other contributors to the site. One guy is a sports guy, and so he writes about the Bucks and the Rays and the Lightning, and but that doesn't mean I don't have an opinion about what's going on too. And so we're all free to write about whatever subject we want to, and in no particular order. And it's just kind of put up there, and people seem to like it.
Now, do people know you for a particular topic? I mean, are you particularly focused? I'm thinking that you're focused a lot on politics when you post. Is that right?
Well, I do, and in fact, I'm trying to maybe focus even a little bit more on politics. The problem with that is that it's, you know, politics ain't the most exciting stuff in the world, especially local politics. Of course, we got your everyday knuckleheads that are in charge of the county or the city over here, and so we write about that, and it's easy to make fun of them. But it's not very interesting to a great group of people. And to be honest with you, it's not interesting to me 24 hours a day either. I have other interests, such as the Rays or the music scene or what's going on down the street. And so, but I've been known, I guess, for picking on the politicians and likewise picking on the local media, too.
And that's good timing. I was going to say to you, I remember having lunch with you a year more or longer ago, and we were talking. Part of the conversation, I think, was about being competitive with the dailies and the alternative weeklies, and that I think sometimes you get under their skin. And actually, that's kind of a good thing for you, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's good to have competition. And I believe, and I think journalism is so very important for democracy. And so we need those newspapers. We need those investigative reporters going after the story. But stuff we don't need is in the paper, and the newspaper is, Dear Abby. I guess, part of that is the entertainment, and they got to draw in as many readers as they can with whatever they got. But it just seems to me that local stuff is just so much more important, although not as exciting. And so, we need journalists, but they can't cover everything. They can't get to everything. And so it's good to have, regular guys who have websites that can just, pitch in and maybe help them point out these other stories that may otherwise get missed.
And, of course, the question that I'm sure everyone asks you wherever you go, whether it's here at Blog Orlando where we are live today, or just somebody finds out, oh, you're Tommy Duncan at Syfy.com. Can you make any money at doing a hyper-local website blog?
Yeah, that's one of the first questions people want to ask is, are you making money or how are you going to make money? And it's tough. I'll tell you, the newspapers are struggling with that themselves. They less people are buying the newspapers, and they see that readership is going online, and yet they are having a difficult time finding advertisers to buy into the online concept for whatever reasons. So, and we face those same difficulties. So it's not as, you can't just put up a website there and start collecting the money. It's a lot of hard work.
So you still working your day job?
Oh, absolutely, and the night job.
And the night job. Oh, now you're scaring people. You're scaring people. Now we'll be losing newspapers and blogs and websites now completely. We'll have no media left because nothing makes money.
I hope not, because, journalism, I don't know about media, but journalism is important, and that's it's got to survive somehow. I have no idea how they're going to do it, or how we're going to do it, but it's important, and I think it needs to somehow figure this out.
Now, do you have any journalism training yourself, and do you consider yourself a journalist?
Well, no, I don't have any formal journalism training. I know what I'm curious about. I know what's important to me, and when when I'm reading a story in the newspaper that answers many questions about whatever given issue, but then I notice that there are 2 or 3 questions that I'm curious about that are not answered in there, and so that part of it is a little bit frustrating. So those are the kind of things I like to bring up on my blog.
Do you find those things are not answered because of incompetence at the newspaper, or ignorance, or political agenda? I mean, and I ask that for a reason. I mean, you've been at this long enough. I'm sure you've formed some particular opinions about these things.
Yes, I have. And to be honest, I've gone through each of those points and tried to figure out what it is. But I don't think it's any one given thing. I think it's all of those. Another point that was brought up today at Blog Orlando during my session is that, a newspaper reporter has gone to sent out to cover the Rotary Club or something, and that may not be exactly what the reporter is interested in covering, and so he's going to do just a good enough job. If it was something he were passionate about, he might dig into it more. If it were something that affected him on a greater basis, then he might ask those additional questions. And so it's this, and time. We just don't have time to do it all. The traditional media has limited resources. As much as we'd like to think that they can cover everything all the time, they just can't.
Well, Tommy, I'm really glad we got to get you on here today after the typical podcasting technical difficulties. I very much appreciate your time. I enjoy what you do. I get the daily summary of posts myself, and want to remind people that if they'd like to check out Sticks of Fire, it is Sticks of Fire, 2 F's, one word solid, sticksoffire.com. And Tommy, I really appreciate you coming on the show today, and continued good luck.
Oh, well, thank you, Bob. I enjoyed it, and you feel free to give me a call anytime.
Appreciate it. All right, take it easy.
You too now. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right, so that was Tommy Duncan of the Tampa site sticksofffire.com. And joining us again now is Michael Hinman. Michael has a show here on Blog Talk Radio. It's Syfy Universe. And let me bring his microphone on. Michael, on top of everything else, has helped me here. When I lost my connection, we were actually working off of his laptop now, and Michael had a little more experience than I at doing these live remotes, so I'm very grateful that I happened to set up right next to where he was and that he introduced himself. So, Michael, tell us something about your site and your show on Blog Talk.
Well, the website, we call it Syfy Portal, and we came up, it's a 10-year-old site. We just celebrated our 10th anniversary a couple months ago. But, I mean, we cover basically science fiction, television, and movies, and all that fun stuff. And last March, we decided, since I kind of have a radio background, back when I was in high school, I actually worked for a country music radio station. I did news on there and always wanted to have my own talk show. So I thought, you know, what the heck, you know, we'll try to do a Blog Talk radio show. And, you know, so we've been doing that every week since March. And it's been a trying experience, but a lot of fun at the same time, and kind of a new way to reach out to new people. And it's a lot of work, as you probably already know, preparing for a show. I mean, we do our shows Wednesday nights at 10 Eastern, and basically I'll come home from work and I'll be spending all that time prepping for the show, writing the script, making sure the guests are all around and our producers are ready and everything else. So, I mean, it's kind of a to-do. Everybody just hears it for an hour and a half and thinks that I just sign on and that's it. But it's actually, you know, it's a lot of work.
I'll ask you the same question I asked Tommy. Have you kept your day job?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have. I mean, luckily for my site, we're not hyper-local like Tommy is. And by the way, I go to Tommy's site all the time because I'm from Tampa. But, we're not as hyper-local. We actually reach a worldwide audience. So, we're not, it's a little bit easier for us to kind of generate revenue. But, at the same time, it's enough to where if I lost my job, I wouldn't lose my house or anything. But still, I like what I do. I mean, I'm a journalist by day. I'm a print journalist, so, and I love doing it, so it's kind of hard to give that up. Probably Alan Levy.
So,
the CEO of Blog Talk Radio.
You were telling us earlier, before we were so rudely interrupted by the Rollins College Wi-Fi system, about some guests you've had. George Takei, we were talking about. Who are some others that have been on the show?
Well, we've tried it, because Syfy Portal's always been one of the sites where we don't concentrate on the actors. We like to concentrate on writers and producers and, music composers, things like that. A lot of the more behind-the-scenes things. We're more of a kind of an industry technical website in a way, as much as we can be, while still trying to, bring in other audiences. But we have voice actors like Captain Tabor, who's in the new Star Wars Clone Wars animated series that just started on Cartoon Network. We're going to have, actually, in a couple of weeks, we're going to have Bodhi Omos on. His father is Edward James Olmos, the star of Battlestar Galactica, and Bodhi's actually in Battlestar. He plays a pilot named Hot Dog, and he's actually going to be on here in a couple of weeks ahead of a convention appearance he's making in Orlando. And I mean, we've had authors, we've had writers, and, like episode writers mostly, and things like that. That's the kind of people we like to try to have on.
You're missing this right now, Michael. Actually, we have a sci-fi moment here. Tommy Duncan has found a spider floating. It's seemingly freeform here, and is forcing it back. So,
don't get it anywhere near me.
Now, in doing Blog Talk, and here's the same question: are you making anything from doing a show on Blog Talk? Are you finding other ways to monetize?
Well, I mean, the website's been monetized. I mean, we have Syfy Portal. We also have another website called Rabid Doll that covers horror. That's still, it's only a year old, so it's still getting its legs. And we're launching a third site in January called TV Plexus, which is a wide-ranging TV site. But pretty much outside of the website, everything that we do, whether it's Blog Talk Radio or Second Life or, presence in Facebook and MySpace or anything like that, we just consider that to be kind of a value add to our marketing efforts. So we are making a little bit of money doing blog talk radio, but it's really not. I mean, it's really nothing more than what would buy a lunch or two, and but we don't expect to make money off of it. The biggest thing that we do is we like to do it for fun. It gives us a way to promote the show, and it's another way for us to grab that exposure that we really need, and just like what we hope to get from a lot of the bloggers that are here at this conference is, hey, we're here, and pick up our stuff because pick it up from you as well, and that's pretty much, I think, the best way that the internet programs and internet sites and things like that can really work. That was a marketing strategy we started with 10 years ago, and we have, now we get 35,000 unique visitors a day. So, I mean, we've never really spent much of, maybe a couple $100 total in that 10 years on advertising. So, that's the kind of thing that we like to do, the scratching your back method.
Well, let's finish up with a little game of this or that. Let's really test your knowledge here, and I'm working without a net too here, so let's just you call it, okay? Sulu or Chekhov?
For what are we trying to?
You just got to pick Sulu or Chekhov.
Sulu.
All right. Jim Lee or Frank Miller?
Frank Miller.
The Dark Knight Returns or Batman?
Dark Knight.
Star Wars or Battlestar Galactica?
Oh, Battlestar. Oh, it depends which Battlestar Galactica, but if you're talking about the new one, the Battlestar Galactica.
All right, Battlestar Galactica or Star Trek?
If it's the new Battlestar, once again, it's probably Battlestar right now.
Okay, Hellboy or The Spirit?
Anything other than Hellboy, so you can put anything in next to it.
Oops. Let's see. I'm kind of running out of these things. I wasn't planning on this game. That's as far as I think I can take it right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's just showing. I think that's showing your geekdom as well as mine. So.
Yeah, sad but true. We have our share of science fiction and comics and movie people on Mr. Media as well. So, yeah, been there, done that. I understand. But listen, Michael. First of all, thank you so much for your technical assistance and your experience helping us out today with the first Mr. Media live broadcast, and continued good luck on your own site. And
well, thank you so much.
To listening more myself.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, thanks very much for calling in and playing our game, as a matter of fact. Now that I mentioned it.
No problem.
All right. Thanks very much, Michael. All right, and folks, you can check out Michael's website. It is syfyportal.com. It's SYFY portal, PORTAL.com. And let me remind you of the URLs of my other guests today. We had Tommy Duncan from sixoffire.com, Dana Wilhoit from NicheNewsFlash.com, and we had JC, let me get JC's URL in front of me, JC Hutchins. That's JCHUTCHINS.net. JC was the first on the show talking about going from podcast to published novels. So I hope you've enjoyed this first live podcast, and hopefully by the time you hear this on the archive, we'll have stitched it together, so you won't have to hear the big gap. The big gap. And, of course, if you're interested in learning more about Blog Orlando, please go to blogorlando.com, or you can do twitter.com/blogorlando, and subscribe to the feed. Thanks so much for joining us, folks. As always, I appreciate your time and the time you spend with us. Come back again.